I want people to be inspired to create more. I feel like as creators, we have a duty to inspire other people to create and inspire other people to travel with creative energy and loving energy. And sometimes love can look a lot like anger and sometimes it can look like joy. But that raw emotion that I capture in my music and the art that I make is something that you can carry with you in every conversation that you have and just be passionate about life in general.
Don't you know you look just like the chair, a spinning image of a tale of distant lovers, the pressure of miles between us.
Oh shit, I'll be right back. I just want to do this without the glasses and Jones was messing up. All right.
2, 1.
What's going on? It's Mason from Philadelphia. I'm what you call a hyper creative, an artist, a writer, a lunatic. I come from a big family, man. I got 2 stepbrothers, a stepsister, and 1 blood brother. I got 17 nieces and nephews, mostly girls, and you know, some of them are young women now. Coming from a big family is a lot of pressure. It feels like you have a lot of people that you can't let down. You have a lot of people that you want to take care of, and a lot of people that are looking up to you. I'm the only one of my brothers and sisters that doesn't have any kids, so I get to come in and out of their lives, you know, week by week. I try to see them a lot, but you know, you feel like you have the pressure to show what young adulthood is like, what adulthood is like for somebody that doesn't have the responsibilities of having a child. And chasing my dreams is like a big part of that. I don't even like to call it chasing my dreams. I like to call it finding myself, you know what I mean? And in the process of discovery, just developing success. A lot of times people talk about success like it's this thing that you go after, but it's really a mind state. It's a lifestyle. It's the influence of everyone and everything around you coming to life and you evolving with it. So every second that I'm thinking about my family, every time I'm in the studio and thinking about the content in my songs, which is funny sometimes because, you know, if you got records where you're talking about inappropriate things, or you have records where you're going deep and maybe saying some things that your family might not know about you, that all plays a role in who I am as an artist, who I am in their lives, and who I'm going to be as my success continues to develop and people get to look behind the Mason curtain and see what's really there. Well, I got my Mason name. It's from my family. It's my last name. You know, it felt good to put that name on my shoulders and kind of carry the reputation of my ancestors with me. And more recently, I put the 11 in there. 11 is a sacred number to me. It's a number that's spoken to me throughout my entire life, and just something that reminds me that I'm on the right path, something that when I see it, it tells me, like, look a little closer at what's going on around you. It's an angelic number, and I feel like I got angels around me watching over me, helping me to create, helping me to be who I need to be. So the M11SON, pronounced Mason, is just the rebirth into the world and introducing myself as a creative and not just some regular person. I'm mostly inspired by the people that are around me. I get in a room with these producers, and their music just speaks to me. It speaks to my soul, and I capture that moment and make sure that I put it on these records. I'm also inspired by other people's art, whether it be films, television, paintings, literature, and also my life experiences. I try to bring all of those things onto a record. And sometimes I write a record that I hear a beat and it just reminds me of like a movie I saw, whether it be recently or at an important time in my past. And the whole thing is just based off of that movie. And sometimes it's off of, you know, a story that I read. But most of the time, my inspiration is really, really drawing from the energy of the people around me in the studio and outside of it. I'm here to inspire the misfits and the misunderstood. I want people to listen to my music and always know that they're not alone. And whatever emotion I'm capturing at that time, I want you to be able to relate to it. I want every person to be able to listen to my music and feel like it speaks to them and a situation, even if it's a hyper-specific song and that's directly related to my life. I want you to look at yours and see the parallels. I want people to be inspired to create more. I feel like as creatives, we have a duty to inspire other people to create and inspire other people to travel with creative energy and loving energy. And sometimes love can look a lot like anger and sometimes it can look like joy. But that raw emotion that I capture in my music and the art that I make is something that you can carry with you in every conversation that you have and just be passionate about life in general. When I'm writing music, I'm inspired by the beat and I get into this headspace where the beat is like an outlet, you know what I mean? And that there's like this realm, you know, that I'm attaching to. And I just try to be the plug that plugs in, and I'm the conduit for that energy to mesh with whatever beat I'm hearing. I used to write a lot more outside of the studio, but these days I just feel inspired when I get there. And I just trust that my job on this earth is to connect that spiritual realm and that the audio realm and just put them together. So I love to write inside of the studio. And then when I'm being creative in other forms, I sometimes will just sit outside or sit in a coffee shop and just mull over things in my head and go over ideas and tell myself stories and make up these characters and put them in places in my mind and just let myself be a kid again. I feel like a lot of the times adults forget what it's like to be 4 years old and have an imaginary friend. And now our imaginary friends can be like the characters that we put in the stories or the characters that we're putting in the songs or the characters that we show other people when we're around them and introducing ourselves to them. I have an unhealthy obsession with words. Like I'm like a word stalker. Every time I hear a new word or a word I haven't heard in a while, like the other day, I heard the word lemming, and I used to love the animals. Lemmings are like these little critters that live on the side of mountains or whatever. And I heard it again, and like I got like a weird tingling in my body over it. And like it has to come from. I think the earliest time is like a kid and a toddler, like just ear hustling. Like I was that kid that was always just like supposed to be in bed, but just listening to like the grown folk conversations and just paying attention to what people said and how they said it. And I'm really infatuated with what people say versus what they're thinking. I love to read people's facial expressions and I pay close attention to the diction and the emotion in their voice when they're telling me things. And I think that there's an art to manipulating that. And that's probably my favorite part of creating a song is delivering those emotions so that way people can feel it. Even though I'm not talking and I might be singing or I might be rapping, there's ways to like master that and deliver it. And I think in life and through art, watching movies and being obsessed with movies, I'm a crazy movie kid. Like I was nonstop in front of the VCR as a kid, just watching every single movie I can and listening to songs, and even today, like watching interviews and listening to podcasts and stuff like that. It just fuels this love that I have for words, and fuels what we use to connect to people. Our words are the only thing that makes us different from animals, and there seems to be quite a big difference sometimes. My favorite movie is True Romance. For those that have never seen it, it was a movie that was written by Quentin Tarantino but not directed by him. And it's like the most unique love story. It has incredible actors playing both big and minor roles. Like, it's got Brad Pitt just plays like this stoner that's just laying on the couch. And the reason why I love it the most is because of the dialogue. I think the dialogue in this movie is one of the most incredible things I've ever heard. Like, the conversations are so deep and they're so carefully thought out, and somehow they still come across as hyper realistic. And I think it's really hard to capture really unique situations and really unique conversations and make it seem like the characters in the movie or the actors in the movie really are saying that to each other. And it's just a beautiful thing. Not to mention the fact that, like, Gary Oldman is like this weird ass Jamaican dude with dreadlocks who's like got like one scarred eye, and he's talking in this crazy accent and just hyped up. And James Gandolfini is like in a legit fist fight with Patricia Arquette, like beating her down in this movie, and she ends up, well, I don't want to spoil it, but she's, fighting him back. And Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper have this incredible conversation about where Sicilians came from and what that means to them. It's just altogether a beautiful, beautiful film. There's so many people that come to mind when I think about who I'd want to collab with. But since we said Dead or Alive, and just from what I'm feeling today, it's got to be XXX. He was such an incredible talent. I really think he would be the biggest artist in the world right now. And he had these youthful, poor decisions, notoriously poor decisions, that clouded his talent, and it ultimately ended up bringing on some energy that was his doom. It was his demise. And it's just like the saddest thing, man, no pun intended. It's really sad that he's not here with us. And I was listening to him today and just going, wow, like, this kid was so young and he had so much time to be even better. And he was very multi-genre, and he jumped from emo to hype, and he was capturing all these different energies and putting them down on wax, and he didn't care about song structure, and he would so obviously like slack off on certain songs, and then other songs so obviously put tons of time and effort, and I can hear it in his records. And so today I'm feeling like my dream collaboration would be him. Yeah, all right, I gotta go with that. Favorite album, favorite collaboration, favorite artist, all those things are like things that are day to day for me. Like, it could change based off of what breakfast I eat. But right now, I think my answer for my favorite artwork cover would be Tame Impala's Currents. It just has like that ball bearing, trippy thing that's like a ball bearing sinking in like these waves or these currents. And the colors just really, really pop. I'm really into different colors, especially like in art and in graphic design. And it just was this perfect mesh of realism and distorted, I guess, which would not make it, I don't know. But it's like this metal that is coming from, it's like so obviously from our earthly, like solid realm and entering this space of the unseen, but they tried to like color it and put it on the canvas the right way. So I gotta go with that one. And not to mention that album is like such a good album. Like there's not a single person that can listen to Tame Impala's Currents and say that it's bad. And if they do, they're probably not a person and you should kick them in the nuts. There's a lot of things that make me unique and make me stand out. And in my art, even in my interviews, in everything that I do, I'm gonna be bringing you the Mason spirit or the Mason spirits, the multiple different voices in my head, the multiple different energies that I'm capturing, the multiple personalities. And that's definitely reflected in my art from genre to genre. And it's really seen in my live performance as well. I have moments where trying to get everybody hyped up and I'm hyped up, but I'm definitely in my own world. And so on stage, I want to just bring you into that world and have you visit and have it be like a roller coaster ride where you know you're at first you're in line and you're waiting, but the excitement's building because you know you're about to feel that drop in your stomach. And then you know that same feeling when you sit on the ride and it's locking you in, and then you know you're going up that hill, and then that moment where you can just put your hands up and ride down. And you know, I feel like most good performers are gonna do that, and that's what I want to bring every time, and just make sure that my roller coaster is different and experience to make you go back and get online again when you're like, I want to ride that again. That's me. I was always a person that enjoyed the nervousness of having to be in front of people and doing something uncomfortable. So my first improper show would be in high school, just like freestyle rapping in front of everybody in the dorms. Only thing I cared about when I was in high school was making my friends laugh and girls. And so I would be holding court a lot of times and try to entertain people. So it wasn't, for some reason it didn't connect to me to transition into being an artist and being somebody that's up front, but in hindsight, it makes so much sense. So then my first time taking the stage, I felt like I was at home. I felt like, duh. Like I felt like this is my past, present, and future. I felt really, really, really at home. I was critical of myself for, you know, stumbling over in certain moments, but I was also proud of myself for capturing that moment and taking the balls that it took, the gusto that I needed to show people that I'm somebody that you should look at. So to describe my body of work in 1 to 3 words, I think I'm gonna use 2. I would say eclectic, lunacy, because I think if you listen to enough of my songs or all of my songs, you'll find that there's not just one crazy person there, but quite a few. I'm next in charge because all these other artists ain't shit. And no, I'm next in charge because I pay my dues and I work really, really hard at making art that reflects something beautiful. And I believe that if you're making something beautiful, the world should see it. And it's time.
Two, one.
My one piece of advice would be to make sure you move with positive intention. If you're going forth with love and you're trying to lift people up and you're trying to do things that are truly for the betterment of others, you really, really can't lose. You can't lose. They say nice guys finish last, but they forget to tell you that when they're finished, they finish right. And so have that positive intention, even though the outcome might not always end up being positive.
Don't you know you look just like betrayal? A spinning image of a tale of distant lovers.